Oh, good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. But I plan on posting it in the morning. So this is my first video post move about my moving sucks, how to make it less suck. I had to kind of take a pause from posting videos because the movers packed up my microphones. And so I still made a couple videos, but I had to use AI voice to actually make the videos. And so I didn't want to do one of this series and that. And so I did want to continue the series. It's probably going to be a little bit more informative now after the fact. When I say after the fact, it's not like we're done. We have a ton of unpacking to do. Just a ridiculous amount. But I want to try to help other people because last time we moved, it was such a rush and we didn't, after a few years, you kind of just forget a lot of things. And so I'm hoping that this can help other people to remember some things that will help. And I'll say one of the big things now is when you get full service movers, I think you kind of get this impression that you don't have to do a whole lot. They pack, they load, and they unload. And then you have to unpack. And you're going to have to unpack, and that's going to take a while. There's some that will unpack for you, but I don't know why you'd want to use those. That would be crazy to me. But even like during the act of packing, and for instance, we have our 3 cats. So we had to put them into our main master bedroom because most of the stuff in the master bedroom we were not going to have them take because that's another part of it. There's usually some gap in time between, depending on where it is. If it's a out-of-state move, say longer than an hour, there's usually a gap in time between closing of the house and the movers actually doing their thing. And so for our example, this time actually, our movers packed and loaded prior to us closing and moving in. Last time we moved in before they did it. And so last time what we did was we took a small amount of stuff. We have one of those Lovesac Sactional sofas, so it can act as a bed. Not a very comfortable one, but it can act as a bed. And we loaded that, a computer, a TV, and a few other things, and moved it, did a soft move in, and then we drove back to Columbus, Ohio, and met with the movers to do the packing and then the loading. And that was about a week after we had moved in. This time was a little bit different. We hadn't actually even closed on the house, but I'd already got the estimates for the movers and stuff, and they wanted to load. And so it was a little bit of a risk there, but I felt pretty confident that we were all set to actually close, and we would close on time. My team was confident I was working with. And so I felt good about it. But it was a risk, and it was a risk that could potentially cost us about $10,000. Had we not been able to be available when they wanted to unload, which was the Tuesday following closing on Friday, it would have cost us a pretty good amount of money. Now, having said that, I wouldn't advise you to take this risk. I did it, and probably not the best thing to do, but I did it, and I felt pretty confident. Of course, we had a little thing come through the Atlanta area called Hurricane Helena. And so before closing, there's a risk that our new house could have got wiped out, could have got damaged, any number of things that could have impacted that closing. So there was definitely some nervousness that night. But the good thing was, we live on the west side of Atlanta. We don't actually live in Atlanta. We live outside of Atlanta, west of Atlanta. And the hurricane was east of that. And so it didn't have a huge impact, but it was a good test for the house. I mean, a lot of rain, a lot of other stuff, and still high winds and stuff. So nothing got damaged. Everything was in great shape. Our realtor checked it the next day, and our realtor did a fantastic job. I'm going to do a separate video, but we used Amy Bradley from the Janice Overbeck team. And she covers, I think, from Atlanta all the way into Alabama. So big area. you need a great realtor, she did a fantastic job. Amazing job. So I can't recommend her enough. And for the mortgage lending process, she recommended 2 people. Now, I'd already gotten pre-approved through a bigger lender, but I needed somebody that was going to focus on me. So she recommended 2 different groups, one of which was a little bit larger, seen a lot more stuff online about them, positive things. And I watched some YouTube videos, and like the main lady was like in Florida, like on these like beachfront properties and stuff. And the other guy was a little bit smaller, not as much about it. And at first I was like, I don't know. There's not a lot of stuff about him out there. But I tell you what, he answered my call. He took a call Sunday, and we talked through some stuff. We had a strategy meeting on Monday, and he told me, like, hey, you find a house, and I'll have you close before you start your first day of your job. And, his confidence instilled some confidence in me. And I went with him, and it was Joshua Dean, the Dean team. And I'll tell you, they delivered exactly what they said. So, couldn't be happier with the experience overall. So I highly recommend, if you need anything on a mortgage lending platform, Joshua Dean and his team did an amazing job. I mean, the guys seems to work around the clock, and I couldn't have been happier with the experience. So I'm going to do a whole separate video on that, but I wanted to make sure to recognize that both the realtor and the lender people did an amazing job. So back to the movers. So we had to, because they were actually packing our stuff, so we had a certain amount of stuff we weren't going to take. Almost the same thing as last time, which was the sectional sofa, the one smaller TV, a desk, and a few odds and ends. So with the packers, you got to tell them a lot, like yes to pack this or no not to pack that, even though most of the stuff we were telling them not to pack was actually isolated. And there was stuff after the fact that they didn't pack that didn't make a lot of sense. There was some stuff they packed that didn't make any sense. Like, I actually had a dirty paper towel that they packed up. So as that sounds, it was a paper towel I was using when, my painting with like the miniatures and stuff, and there was paint on it and stuff. Like these plastic funnels got like 3 layers of packing paper. And then other stuff that should have probably been more protected wasn't. Overall, though, they did a good job. I haven't seen anything really damaged. So, again, good job. We got a ton of packing paper. I mean, a ton. So, hopefully, if anybody needs any moving boxes or packing paper in the West Atlanta region, man, I tell you, I got a ton of stuff here that can outfit your entire move. We're still unpacking and everything, but there was a lot of questions like, hey, does this get packed? Does this not get packed? And then on the day of loading, ton of questions, ton of things. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of stuff that they should have taken that they didn't take. And a couple of things they took that they probably shouldn't have took. But again, I don't want to give the impression that it wasn't a good job, because I'll tell you, from start to finish, we used North American Van Lines, which was kind of sub to this more local outfit in Lexington. They gave us a binding estimate, and that was exactly what they charged. There was a little bit of a discrepancy from the person who came out who did the estimate and what she said we were going to pack versus what they were going to pack. And so when they started doing the packing, I think one of the guys doing the packing was like complaining, like, man, there's way more stuff to pack here than what was said. And she came out, she was a little strange, and she had said that she had down for them doing 78 boxes and us doing 110 boxes. And I was like, both me and my wife don't recall ever hearing that we were going to do 110 boxes. So I think it was just a misunderstanding between us and her about some things. Like in my office space where I said I was going to pack some things, I had already packed those things basically. And we had a whole 15-foot U-Haul stacked full to the brim of stuff that exclusively that we packed and that we moved. So they didn't move the whole house. I mean, we took a sofa, we took a desk, we took an entire thing. And so, but they didn't try and charge me anymore. So even with that, whatever discrepancies there was no try to charge, anything. And like I said, I don't think it was ever anything intentional. I think it was just when we talked through, we were just on two different wavelengths about it. And that can happen. If she had said 110, either I didn't hear it or it didn't register, because I would have caught me and said, wait, why would you pack way more than you guys are packing? I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. There was a lot of stuff already in boxes and everything, but I think she just... Anyways, long story short, though, even with them doing that, like I said, it was a ton of work back and forth. We had a ton of stuff to pack ourselves. We ended up moving down with the U-Haul on a Sunday, so we drove right around 6 hours. I drove the U-Haul. My wife drove her SUV. She had the 3 cats. Our cats are not outdoor cats. They're totally indoors. They don't go places. And I knew the oldest one was female. She always is a little histrionic, and that she was going to be a problem. And my wife brought her out first, and she's screaming and stuff. And I thought, well, Magnus, he's more mature. He'll be fine. And then she brings Magnus out, and his tail is sticking out the front of the carrier. And he's screaming, and he's like a mess. And I'm like, oh, God, not Magnus even. And then the third one comes out, so he's screaming. And so they're all 3 screaming. One goes, the other, then the other. So I was like, arr, 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 and it was like constant. So me and my wife are like doing like a convoy driving down, because if one of us needs to stop, one person needs to watch the other vehicle. So the U-Haul had firearms and other stuff in there, and then she has the cats. We want to make sure everything's protected. So we had our phones going the entire time. And so we were talking. And I remember when we took off out of the neighborhood in Kentucky, I can just hear all 3 cats going constantly. And I probably was laughing for like 10 minutes straight while I'm driving the U-Haul. I'm like, she's going to lose her mind. How could she take that? Because it's loud as crap here just through the phone, let alone driving with it. They did settle down after about 2.5 hours. But even then, they never actually fully stopped. They just took more pauses. But the oldest cat liked to stand up, so every time my wife hit a little bump or something, she started in again, and then she would get Magnus going. Again, lessons learned. You read online, but, we should have taken them in some trips, smaller trips, to prepare them just for what's riding in a car, since they hadn't done it in a while. Done stuff like that. But, again, when do you have time to do that? When you're going through all this different stuff. That's the problem. But we survived. We made one stop along the way, and everything was fine. But when we got here, it was like 78 degrees, but the humidity was just unreal. And so we're like unloading, because we get here Sunday and it's like 6:30. I'm working the next morning, first day at my new job. And so that night we're trying to unload, because we got to get to bed, we got to get our other stuff, and we just want to get the truck empty, because I got to take the truck back the next day. Because Monday I start, and then Tuesday the movers come. And so we were rushing to get that done, and just sweat's like pouring off of us. Some of these days were crazy. Like, we weren't going any farther than within our house or just to a truck in the driveway. And we were getting like 22,000 steps. I mean, I know one day it said, my Fitbit watch said I walked like 10 miles and never left the house. 10 miles. And so it was just an intense amount of activity. Just sweat was just pouring off me. And I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Humidity actually dropped. I was like, is it always going to be like this? Because Kentucky has high humidity. Columbus, Ohio has high humidity in the summer and stuff. And so you're used to that, but this was intense. And so, it got better. And it's been pleasant days, actually. So the movers came. I tell you, the unloading people were great. Did a phenomenal job. And I felt bad because, we have a 2-story house now, and there's like a turn in the steps. And, they had to take, the washer and dryer, the utility rooms upstairs. They had to take that and some other stuff. But these guys were did an amazing job. They had a great attitude, and couldn't have been happier with the experience. So tried to tip them very well for that, because A, they had to move our whole gym, ton of weight equipment and everything, and B, taking the stuff up the steps. And one of those guys, man, I hate like seeing other people working and I'm not doing anything. So like when the loaders were working and they were taking stuff out of the basement, I was actually taking stuff out of the basement too and everything. So, I would grab some dumbbells or grab some stuff. I mean, I remember, one of the carpet rolls through my shoulder. I would take it around. The only thing I couldn't do is actually load it in the truck. But I tell you, the guys unloading were doing such a great job of rocking it out. I didn't even want to get in their way. I mean, they were just boom, 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 boom. And so it was good. And I'm going to write down some of my thoughts, though, some more things along the way. But I'll say that, and don't get me wrong, if we did the move ourselves, if we did all the packing ourselves, or if we did the move ourselves completely, it would have been way worse on us. So when I say that just because you get full service movers, don't think you're going to have an easy job, I also recognize that it made it a lot easier. I'd be half dead right now if, I had to do all of that by myself, or, just me and my wife or whatever. But don't get the impression, though, if you get full service movers, that you're just going to be sitting there taking a nap all day long, because you're not. There's a ton of stuff that you got to do to help make that process through. But it's done. I got my new little studio set up, and so Jim's still got a lot of stuff to do to set up. So let's see. Hoping to get a little bit of it preliminary set up this weekend. Big thing, man, with moving. It's like you have so much crap you don't realize. We have to seriously downsize some stuff. And I'm off to a great start by downsizing, because we just ordered another desk, ordered another set of dumbbells. Not my fault. Walmart had a cheap deal on 100-pound dumbbells, so grabbed a pair of 100-pound dumbbells. But we're not doing a great job of downsizing yet. We did give some stuff to Goodwill, though. Before we left, we had like 2 hutches, a portable pool table, and a few other things that we gave to Goodwill, and had a whole dumpster of stuff we threw out. Sold a few things, gave my standard weight plates away to a neighbor. So we have downsized, but need to downsize some more. And I tell you, ever move again, we're just going to sell it all and move into a condo or something, man. I ain't doing this again. Just don't plan on moving. And I love this house. It's a phenomenal house. Great neighborhood. Beautiful neighborhood. And nice neighbors. I tell you, it's weird. Like, rarely talked to most of my neighbors before. And already here, like, dude, like, people are just stopping and introducing themselves. Somebody brought by some banana bread, left on our porch, saying, welcome, neighbor. And it wasn't roofied. I mean, I was like, well, I figured it was roofied or something. So I was like, I'll eat it, and hey, it may knock me out or whatever, but, store's locked, I'll be fine. But, what ain't roofied? Kind of disappointed in that, but still, I mean, it's, kind of crazy that, you get food that they didn't even spike and drug you with. Totally unprepared for that kind of thing. So, very friendly people so far. And I tell you, Georgia's a beautiful state. Just the trees and everything. And I always liked Kentucky. I had a lot of hills and what they call mountains and stuff. And so I thought it was nice. It'd be scenic drives, but just the landscape and the trees and stuff. So I think like Georgia has everything Kentucky has, but it actually just has a little bit nicer foliage and stuff. And I'm a big terrain guy, so I love that kind of stuff. So anyways, I'm going to cut the video now. There'll be another one about the moving experience. We'll go into a little more detail as I kind of write down some ideas, but I just wanted to check in. We're done. We're in one piece. Maybe I can play a few clips of some stuff that happened, but that's all. Thanks, everybody.